I'm not in Phoenix anymore. After last week's video, I made the long trek across country back to good old Schuyler County, Illinois, where the temperature dropped from 70 in Phoenix to 7. And I'm back home. This is the third part and final part of a 3-part series on proofs for the existence of God. It's a short midweek devotion from the Littleton United Methodist Church. For the past couple of weeks, I've been dealing with the question, proofs for God. The branch of theology that deals with questions like this is called apologetics. And it's if the last couple of weeks have interested you, made you want to start reading or thinking, you might just go to Google and type in the 20 best Christian apologists. That would probably get you started. Or you could go to books from C.S. Lewis and Ravi Zacharias and Josh McDowell and Lee Strobel, and just start with some of those. Those are some relatively popular names in apologetics. Well, over the past couple of weeks, I hope I have shown you that both theist and atheist can be very sincere in their beliefs. They can be very rational in their beliefs. They can be very deep in their thinking. They can be honest about what they're wrestling with and still have different views. Some could be atheist, some could be theist, and there could be room for dialogue and discussion between the two that's in a civil nature, not an aggressive, like we see on social media so much, where everybody's calling each other names, where everybody's putting each other down for not really being thoughtful or anything like that. So I hope that I've shown that there's room for some dialogue of a civil nature and some respect that both theist and atheist, many of them have thought through their views, many of them have not on both sides, and that many of them are very sincere with their views. And I could have chosen many apologists through history, many arguments for the existence of God, but these were simple to get our minds around, and they were all kind of put together by one theologian, and just made a nice package to play with it. We could go on with this and make a whole course out of it. I mean, there are seminary courses built on apologetics. People have made a lifetime career of studying apologetics, so we could go on farther, but there has to come an end to short midweek devotions like this. And after a couple of weeks of building some rapport and a willingness for us both to negotiate, to talk, to discuss deeply, I kind of have to end with an area where we can't talk, where theist and atheist probably can't get together. That they're so far apart that it may be hard to ever understand each other. And that is in the realm of experience. You see, I've thought about this quite a bit. I have, I'm a theist, of course. I have a lot of friends that are atheists. We've had long discussions, and it seems like there's one place where we just cannot get past, and that is the area of experience. Experience is one thing that a theist cannot ignore and an atheist cannot entertain. That is, I have had some spiritual experiences, and you may have had some spiritual experiences that are just so overwhelming. Perhaps we've had some sort of enlightenment. Perhaps we've seen miracles. Perhaps something has happened of a major nature that we just know that there's a God, that we've had contact with that God, that we feel that God has spoken to us, guided us, directed us in some area of our life. And to ever turn our back on that or ever ignore that would be to turn our backs on reality. An atheist can go as far as say there's such a thing as spiritual experience, and they can study that spiritual experience, and they can see what kind of delusion is this, or what is there inside of a human being that makes some more susceptible to spiritual awakenings than others, or what is it that makes people draw. They can explore that. But what they can't do is they can't entertain the possibility, is this really from God? Because the very moment that you seriously ask the question, is this really from God, is the moment you step over from atheism to, at the very least, being an agnostic. Maybe there is, maybe there's not. And the very moment a person steps the other direction, that they deny their own reality. So it comes to a place where we can be friends and respect each other, obviously, discuss, debate, study. But how do you get across an experience that is so unique to yourself in a way that some others can entertain it as a real valid experience, not just some sort of brainwashing, that they can entertain as that's a possibility if they have not experienced that? So we have this wall. This wall where theists can never turn their back on their faith, never turn their back. They can question God. They can ask whether God is cruel or not. They can, but they can't turn their backs on what they've met without that pulling at them. And while the another that does not believe cannot entertain that it could really be real, for a real God, and still not believe. Hope that makes sense. I've been talking about windows of knowledge. I mean, I haven't used those terms, and I haven't mentioned windows or knowledge, in any of these three lessons. But what we accept as evidence that we can build on. Many say there's just one window of knowledge. That is, I've been sitting in my wife's chair during this devotion. I've been sitting next to our window in our living room, and there's one window coming in with the light coming from it. And some people say there's one window of knowledge, and that is empirical knowledge. What I can taste, touch, feel with my senses. If I can't measure it, if I can't touch it, if I can't taste it, if I can't prove it, it can't be known. I tend to think there are several windows of knowledge. I think empiricism is a perfectly valid, important window. So is logic. So is experience. And tradition may not be as foolproof as some of the others, but there are ways to know. When you pick up a newborn baby, okay, I've been a father 3 times, and I've had the privilege of delivering. You might think, what's a father got to know about this? I have had the privilege of delivering all three of my children. And when you pick them up and you wipe them down and you look at them, and they look at you, you know something about them that goes deeper than how long they are and how much they weigh. It may not be foolproof, and there may be a lot of errors, and you may have to be very careful with your thinking processes and your logic, but I think there's more than one window. And experience, I think, is one of those windows. It's one that's hard to get past. It's one that we hold on to. I have recently been reading about the ancient martyr, Christian martyr back in the Roman arenas. His name was Polycarp. He was an old man. He was arrested for being a Christian, according to the stories. And he was given several chances to deny his faith. And his response was classic. He said, 86 years have I served my Lord, and he has never failed me once. How can I blaspheme against my King? There was a time when I did not know Christ as my Savior. And there was a time when I did. And now it's been decades. And that faith has been tested over and over and over and over. And it stood the test. The cat just plain doesn't care. But this little dog's name is Ellie Mae. And she has been patiently waiting for me to pick her up since the first of the devotions. So I think maybe I ought to spend a little bit of time with her. May God bless you this week. May God encourage you and strengthen your faith in Him.